This is Michael Schwing of Indianapolis, Indiana, homeless advocate. This movie is about how housed people are not homeless people. This is not a movie about the definition of homelessness. I did one of those already. This is about how formerly homeless people get housed, whether they house themselves or they get housed by an agency or they get housed in some other way, such as staying with family members or moving into public housing, and who are still treated as if they are homeless by the general population or by the service providers who wish to continue providing services to make money off their backs, or by people who are just ignorant, who think that when one is homeless, they will forever be homeless. They're just a homeless person who's housed. No, they are a housed person who was homeless. There is a huge difference. Homelessness is not a disease one can catch. It is, however, a curable condition. Completely curable. And once cured, one is no longer homeless. They are not. They can use the word formerly homeless, but it's best just to drop homeless altogether and just say housed. Homelessness is not caused by a virus, a bacteria, or a mold. You cannot catch it interacting with homeless people. It is not spreadable by social intercourse or by sexual intercourse. Homelessness is a completely curable condition. However, homelessness can be deadly if people are left outside in the winter to fend for themselves as best they can instead of being put into housing. And in the city of Indianapolis, where we have 8,000 abandoned houses and hundreds of abandoned apartment rooms, is there anyone who is homeless in this city when there are less than 8,000 homeless people? Every homeless person in the city can have an apartment and a house. Every homeless man, woman, and child could have an apartment and a house. Does this make sense as to why there are over 5,000 homeless people in the city? It doesn't make any sense to me. But not everyone wants to be cured, however. There are people who wish to fly under the wire, live lives privately, live off the grid, for whatever personal reasons they have. Sometimes it's mental health issues, sometimes it's physical health issues, sometimes it's a drug addiction issue. But whatever their reasons, they have the right to live off the grid. They have the right to live as they please. But we should provide areas for people who wish to live outside, such as a KOA campground that's open all the time, that has buildings people can stay in, where they can store their food and cook their food and take showers and have regular restroom abilities and regular shower abilities, regular mail service, all these things that the rest of us take for granted. And then they can live their lives privately, in peace, and separate from the rest of the world, but in a legal and moral and healthy zoning and health code manner. That's one of many things I've thought of and people have thought of in this city to end homelessness. I'm looking at my notes so I don't get so sidetracked. They say everyone has an address. But what is the address of the gazebo in Military Park at the corner of New York Street and West Streets in Indianapolis, where I lived for 3 years and 3 months? I lived in that park for 3 years and 3 months. I had no address. I'm sleeping inside the gazebo, so it rains. I don't tend to get wet. It snows. I don't tend to get snowed, except for when the wind blows and you wake up in the middle of winter with an eighth of an inch of snow on you. But what address is that? Is it homelessness or is it addresslessness, as my friend Keith says? And if it's homelessness, if homelessness is defined as having no home, then how do you define those who are living along the river in Indianapolis who have shacks? The origins of the tiny house. Some of these shacks are 6 foot by 8 foot big. Some of these tents are 10 by 10 foot and you sleep several people. They have housing. It may not be housing you think they should have. It may not be the housing you think they should have or you want them to have. But they have housing. They own their house. They own everything in their house. They built their house with their own hands. They're, in a very small way, living the American dream. They have home ownership, but they don't have an address. They don't have the documentation that the government says they need to have. They don't have the address the government says they need to have. They don't have the IDs the government says they need to have. But once people are formally homeless by any definition, and they get housed, they are no longer homeless. I live in an apartment building run by Partners in Housing. The COC, a continuum of care, pays the rents for most of the people in there, including myself. And I've actually heard people refer to this apartment building where I have a lease